Hey everyone, welcome to my Chapter 8 presentation. Chapter 8 is Strengthening Developmentally Appropriate Programs Through Family Engagement. In this chapter, we will discuss family engagement in the early childhood education. We will talk about family engagement techniques that you can use to involve the families in your classroom. We will also identify strategies that you can use for communication. Family engagement is an important part of early childhood education. All families that you meet will be different and unique in their own ways, but they all have one thing in common. They each love their children, and their children love them. I always try to remind myself that when I'm working with small children, that is someone's whole world. It's great to have family members to volunteer and participate in the classroom. They can each bring something different into your program. Family involvement in children's programs is critical to the educational success of children. The national accreditation standards identify it as a necessary component of high-quality early childhood programs for children birth to 5 years. These standards require that you understand diverse family and community characteristics, that you engage with family members respectfully, and that you establish genuine relationships, and that you also make an effort to involve them in children's learning and development. Family engagement doesn't just include the child's parents. It can also include people like grandparents, step-parents, foster parents, aunts, and uncles. Family engagement is a continuous process that incorporates parent and other extended family members in the total educational program, including planning, implementation, and assessment. When this happens, families and teachers form a relationship and develop an understanding of what the child is like. They learn more about how they behave and their challenges. Parents also learn what good education looks like and what it requires. If a good parent-teacher relationship is formed, they learn together, support each other, and make life more meaningful for everyone involved. Barriers to family engagement. There are often misconceptions that hinder family involvement. Parents and teachers may have different ways of doing things. Some of the most common barriers to parent involvement are that parents feel their lack of teaching skills prevents them from contributing meaningful experiences to your classroom. The parents are just unsure of how to help or become involved sometimes. They often feel that they're of little worth to your program. Sometimes they assume that help is only needed with fundraising activities. Parents often feel like intruders. That's why it's always important to make them feel comfortable. Sometimes they feel unappreciated. And oftentimes, parents just really don't have the time. They may work long hours, they may be a single parent, they may have other children in the family, and they just really don't have time to contribute. But it's still important to even make them feel like that there's something that they can do in the child's classroom. These barriers are often intensified among low-income families. Teachers need to be sensitive to low-income families and recognize that they need to be included in the program also. They may struggle with limited transportation, but there are many ways that can contribute to the child's program from home. There's always something that you can find for the parent to do. Teachers also have to take into consideration of having families with different languages other than English or having an unaccustomed culture. Don't let that stop you from including the family into the program. Find someone to help you communicate with the parent or learn more about their culture so that you can figure out what they want to do to help. Characteristics of effective family engagement. The main characteristics of effective family engagement are collaboration, variety, intensity, and individualism. Collaboration is the communication between teachers and parents. It can be about the child's interests, fears, eating habits, home life, health, home discipline, strengths and limitations, favorite activities, and academic growth. Healthy communication builds partnership. This is just daily, normal communication between teachers and parents. Variety. All families are different and will have to contribute their engagement to the child's program differently. Parents need to be able to contribute according to their availability, interest, resources, and degree of comfortableness. It's really good to know if the parent has a certain talent that they're good at that you can incorporate into your program. And it's also really good to know what the parent is comfortable doing. You wouldn't want the parent to be in front of the class speaking or reading a book if that's not what they're comfortable doing. They may not want to be in front of the group. Intensity. Contact between families and teachers should occur regularly. Regular communication with families provide them with many opportunities to volunteer to help, and it also conveys the message that family involvement is welcomed and expected. Make sure you take every chance you can to communicate with the families. Individualism. There is no set way of how family engagement is supposed to be. Teachers will just have to figure this out to meet each individual family's need. Everybody's going to be different, and you're going to have to learn how to work with all of them and to know how to incorporate them all into the program. Effective family engagement strategies. There are a few guidelines to help you become closer to the families of the children in your group. Show that you truly care about each child. Families want teachers to pay attention to their children and treat them special. It's important to treat each child with love and respect. Make sure that children go home with all the items they brought that day. Their noses are wiped, their faces are clean, and any parent note has been read and answered. Make personal contact with families. Greet family members and talk to them face to face each chance that you get. Treat parents and other family members as individuals. Communicate with them on a one-to-one basis and not always in groups. And make sure to find ways to communicate with non-English speaking families also. Show genuine interest in family members by listening carefully and responding. Don't give the impression that you're too busy. Ask family open-ended questions about any concerns with their child or any questions or input about the child's program. Be courteous to family members. Greet the family members when you see them. Address them by their proper names. Avoid using Dear Parents in newsletters. Use Dear Families instead. Honor family confidentiality. Family members trust you to keep private information to yourself. Focus on family strengths, their family routine, monitoring electronic devices, or their homework expectations. Always look for the family strengths rather than their faults. Share control with the families. Interact in ways in which they feel comfortable. Make frequent attempts to include families in children's early education. Make weekly newsletters. Offer many ways for families to become involved in their children's education. Don't rely on the same approach every year. Tailor the engagement strategies to meet the needs of all the families, and this could change from year to year. Gather information about the families. A good time to gather information is when the children first enroll in the program. You could have them to sit down, fill out parent questionnaires, talk to them, get to know them, learn things about the family and their child. Ask the family members about their learning goals for their children. Write these goals down and use this as some communication topics throughout the year. See if their child's meeting those goals. Find out about family interest and find ways family members may want to become involved in the program. What are their interests or talents? Use these interests and talents in figuring out the best way that they can contribute to the classroom. Seek out culture information. You can better understand someone if you know a little bit about their culture. Ask for families' feedback throughout the year. Let them know that their opinion really does matter. Have a suggestion box in your classroom. Some parents may really have some good ideas. Always remember to read the individual education plans for children with special needs. This is very important information, and it will help you to be able to take better care of that child and maximize their educational experience. Keep families informed. Include all families in your plan for family engagement. Keep in mind that not all families have computer access. Acquaint families with your educational philosophy, your program goals, and expectations for the children in the classroom. Familiarize families with the typical day for the child in your program. Give them a copy of the daily schedule of the classroom, and also it's good to send home happy notes for the children. Create weekly or monthly newsletters to inform families about the program. Keep parents updated about what's going on in your classroom. Stay in touch with family members who seem unresponsive. Use electronic communication whenever possible, such as cameras, camcorders, email, podcasts, blogs, or website. Establish two-way communication between families and the program. The concept of two-way communication in a formal group setting between families and a teacher is a critical element of DAP. Vary the communication strategies you use rather than relying on one single method. Some examples of communication strategies are a program handbook, an orientation meeting, home visits, newsletters, this could be weekly or monthly, a classroom webpage, parent-teacher conferences, phone calls, and a random happy note. Take advantage of arrival and departure routines as a time to communicate with the families. Establish times with families when it's best for them to call. Maintain email addresses for family members. And have a notebook for each child that can be sent home weekly and used as a back and forth communication with family. You can also include the child's work for the week in that folder and any notes that you would want to send home, and then the parent would also know that they could send notes from home to you in that folder also. Integrate families into the program. Share school and classroom policies, such as discipline policies and classroom rules, a grading chart. Have an open door policy in which family members are welcome to the classroom. Invite family members to visit for specific occasions. Encourage family members' participation in the classroom. Create home-based alternatives for parents to help instead of on-site volunteering. There are so many ways in which parents can help you out from their home. Send children's work home. Include a written note on the child's work with a praise or feedback statement. Show your appreciation for each family member that contributes to the program. Continually let your parents know how much you appreciate their hard work, time, and effort that they put into their child's education and your classroom. Involve men in the early childhood program. Both men and women are important to the development and education of children. Male involvement in a child's education is associated with higher achievement and social competence in children. There are many barriers on implementing male involvement in the classroom, but it is very important to overcome them. Some barriers of male participation include teachers aren't comfortable interacting with men or asking them to participate. Men frequently have work schedules that prevent them from participating in the classroom. In some cultures, men see teacher-parent relationships as the woman's job. There are some strategies to help incorporate male figures into the classroom. You could ask them to help put a new toy together for the classroom, or you could also arrange special occasions for the men to participate, such as breakfast with daddy or grandpa. Provide family education. Invite family members to educational workshops that involve both them and the child. Encourage family members to support student learning from home. You can send home books and materials that they can use at home. Give the parents clear written directions for homework. Put homework on the school website so that parents can check it daily. And also you can give parents advice for how that they really could help the children at home with their homework. Send home learning kits and activity packs that parents and children can do together. Suggest websites that offer parenting and childhood education information. Educate families about developmental changes in the early childhood period. Provide parents with pamphlets, articles, and information to help them learn and understand the developmental stages. Connecting to the community. Teachers are responsible for forming a community within the classroom, and it is also their job to help children transition smoothly from one grade to the next. Children will have a smoother transition if they are socially adjusted, have parents that expect them to do well, experience a DAP classroom, and are in programs that view transition as an ongoing process by fostering family-school connections. Teachers can help prepare families during transitions. You can inform family members about changes and new expectations. You can inform the families what their child will need ahead of time. You can suggest that parents tour the new classroom with their child. It's always important to discuss any concerns that parents may have. Facilitate family-to-family support. Arrange opportunities for families to meet and talk with other families within the program. Family members can help support each other when they have informal opportunities to communicate. It's also a good idea to use bulletin boards. They're an excellent way to communicate with families about activities and classroom information. You can include a copy of your newsletter on the bulletin board. You can put pictures of the children. You can put a list of items that you're needing for your classroom. You could put a list of jobs that you're needing parents to volunteer for. There are so many things that you can put on a bulletin board that will really benefit the parents. Also, make sure to share information with families about community resources that are available to them. There are several community resource agencies that can benefit families. There are parent support groups for children with special needs. And make sure parents are aware of libraries, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. There's also services that provide school supplies and dental care and after-school programs. Think left and think right, and think low and think high. Oh, the things you can think up, if only you try. After this Chapter 8 presentation, I hope you can think of ways to communicate and form relationships with the families of the children in your classroom. Now let's review the anticipation guide. Do you agree or disagree with the following statements? Number 1, it is important to form relationships with the families of the children in your classroom. I hope everyone agrees that it is important to form a relationship with each of the families of the children in your classroom. Parents need to feel welcome and involved. Number 2, teachers should choose only one form of communication method to use with the families in their classroom. This is one that we should all disagree with. There is no way that you could choose one form of communication that will work with each family. You will have to be flexible and be able to choose many different methods in order to communicate with everyone. Some may prefer email, others may prefer notes, so make sure you're able to use several different communication strategies that we talked about in this chapter, such as face-to-face during routine drop-offs and pickup times, newsletters, home visits, parent-teacher conferences, folders, phone calls, and happy notes. Number 3, family involvement in their child's early educational program is critical to their educational success. You should have said that you agree with this statement. As stated in Chapter 8, research has proven that family involvement is important in a child's educational success. The national accreditation standards identify it as a necessary component of high-quality early childhood programs for children birth to 5 years. That is all I have for Chapter 8. Thank you all for your participation.